Here's a cinematic-style long-form article for YouTube narration, written in a flowing documentary tone of around 1600 words, without headings or breaks, so it reads like a continuous story. The year was 1969, a time when British motoring still carried the echoes of post-war craftsmanship, and when MG stood proudly as a mark beloved by enthusiasts across the globe. Among the most interesting cars to leave the Abingdon factory that year was the MGC, a car often overshadowed by its younger sibling, the MGB, but one that carried its own unique charm and character. For many, the MGC was an underappreciated grand tourer, a car that promised the refinement of a bigger engine, the strength of a reinforced chassis, and the unmistakable silhouette of a roadster that could take you across continents in style. And yet, history was not particularly kind to the MGC. It was produced for only a short period, from 1967 to 1969, with fewer than 9,000 cars ever built, making it today one of the rarer British classics. To some collectors, the MGC is a forgotten chapter in MG's story, but to others, it is a treasure worth preserving, a piece of rolling history that deserves not just admiration but restoration. This is the story of one such car, a 1969 MGC, brought back to life by the vision and skill of Bart Holland and his team at Bart Holland B.V in Boskoop, the Netherlands. At first glance, it was just another aging sports car, a shell of its former self with rust creeping across its panels, worn interior pieces, and mechanicals that had long since lost their vigor. But beneath the years of neglect, the team saw potential. They saw an opportunity not only to restore a rare automobile but to honor its history and showcase what careful craftsmanship could achieve. Restoration is never simply about making an old car look new again. It is about respect, for the engineers who designed it, for the drivers who once cherished it, and for the stories embedded in its sheet metal. With the MGC, that respect began with research. The car had to be understood, down to its smallest detail. This was a machine fitted with a 3-liter inline-6 engine, derived from the Austin Westminster, a power plant that gave the car a different character than the lighter, nimbler MGB. While critics of the time argued that the heavier front end compromised handling, enthusiasts appreciated the torque, the long-legged cruising ability, and the effortless way the car devoured miles on the open road. To restore it meant bringing those qualities back in their purest form. The process began with disassembly. Every bolt, every panel, every piece of trim was carefully removed, catalogued, and inspected. A car may appear whole on the outside, but when stripped down, it reveals truths that time has hidden. Structural weaknesses, corroded subframes, worn bushings, and layers of paint hiding previous repairs. The MGC was no exception. Decades of use had left their mark, and if it was to return to the road with confidence, the team had to address every flaw. The body was stripped to bare metal, a stage that always tests a restorer's patience. Rusted areas were cut out and replaced with precision-formed steel, welded and finished until the car's lines were once again as crisp as the day it left the factory. The strength of the shell was crucial, not just for aesthetics but for safety, ensuring the car could handle the power of its 6-cylinder heart. Once the structure was sound, attention turned to preparation for paint. This is a stage where craftsmanship and artistry merge. Countless hours are spent sanding, aligning panels, and perfecting gaps until the surface reflects perfection under every light. The MGC was given a finish worthy of its rarity, a color chosen to both honor its heritage and highlight its curves. Paint is more than cosmetics, it is the skin that protects and defines the car, and when done with care, it brings the restoration to life in a way nothing else can. Mechanical work was equally demanding. The MGC's 3-liter engine, a robust yet refined power plant, required a complete rebuild. The block was stripped, cleaned, and inspected for wear, with components replaced or remachined to exact specifications. The cylinder head, pistons, bearings, and crankshaft were all renewed to restore the engine's original power and smoothness. Carburetors were rebuilt to deliver precise fuel metering, and the cooling system was refreshed to ensure reliability. When reassembled, the engine was not merely functional, it was better than new, tuned for performance and longevity. To hear it run again, with its deep, throaty note, was to hear the voice of a car reborn. Suspension and brakes, often overlooked by casual restorers, were given equal attention. The MGC was known for its torsion bar front suspension and its need for careful setup to balance the added weight of the engine. The team painstakingly rebuilt every component, new bushings, dampers, bearings, and brake lines, to deliver handling that was faithful to the original design while benefiting from modern precision. Safety upgrades, discreet and respectful of originality, were considered where necessary, ensuring the car would not only look period correct but drive with confidence in today's world. Inside, the transformation was just as dramatic. The interior of a car tells a story about its era, and with the MGC, that meant leather seats, chrome accents, and the elegant simplicity of 1960s British design. Time had taken its toll, but restoration is about renewal, not replacement. Original materials were sourced wherever possible, stitching patterns were replicated with accuracy, and every detail, from the dashboard switches to the gauges, was refurbished with authenticity in mind. The result was an interior that felt like stepping back into 1969, only fresher, cleaner, and more inviting. Throughout the project, documentation was essential. Every step was photographed, every decision noted. A restoration of this level is not only for the present but for future generations, and keeping a record ensures the car's history remains intact. For Bart Holland and his team, the project was not simply about creating a showpiece but about giving the MGC a new chapter in its life story. And when the car was finally reassembled, body gleaming, engine purring, interior welcoming, it was more than just a car. It was a statement that rare classics like the MGC deserve to be preserved, appreciated, and enjoyed. Driving the finished car was the final reward. Sliding into the driver's seat, turning the key, and hearing the six-cylinder engine roar to life was a reminder of why these cars matter. On the road, the MGC reveals its character, a mix of smooth power, comfortable touring ability, and the unmistakable feel of a British roadster. The criticisms of its day seem less important now. Instead, what shines through is the joy of a car designed for the pleasure of driving. The long bonnet stretches out ahead, the wind rushes past, and every mile feels like a celebration of history. For Bart Holland B.V, this project was not just about one car but about a philosophy. In a world where disposable products dominate, classic car restoration is an act of resistance, a belief that craftsmanship and history should be valued, not forgotten. Each restored car is a bridge between past and present, a rolling museum that reminds us of where we came from and what we once aspired to. The 1969 MGC, rare and often overlooked, has now been given the recognition it deserves, not as a footnote in MG's story but as a testament to the enduring appeal of classic motoring. And so, the journey of this MGC continues, no longer a tired relic hidden away in a garage but a proud example of what passion, skill, and respect for history can achieve. For those who see it drive by, it may be just another beautiful classic, but for those who know its story, it is something more, a symbol of revival, of dedication, and of the simple truth that old cars, like old memories, can be brought back to life if someone cares enough to try. In the end, that is what restoration is truly about. Not perfection, though perfection may be achieved. Not profit, though value is certainly added. It is about connection, the connection between machine and maker, between past and present, between driver and road. This 1969 MGC, reborn in Boskoop, now carries that connection forward, a legacy preserved on four wheels, ready for the next chapter of its journey. Would you like me to also add a cinematic intro and outro narration styled specifically for YouTube, like a hook at the start and an emotional close to make this script more engaging for viewers?